Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre here. So in the last 18 months or so, we have totally been flipped upside down as a world, but also in the world of watches in terms of release calendars and events to mark releases from different brands. So in the last couple of weeks, we did see Watches and Wonders as well as other brands start to unveil new timepieces for 2021. So what I wanted to do is kind of a wrap-up video, taking a look at some of the highlights from all of these new releases. There has been plenty, so I'm not gonna be able to cover everything, and I'm gonna have to move through this pretty quickly. I'm not gonna be able to dwell on a lot of the releases as much as maybe I'd want to, just given the length of this video, but just giving you a high-level overview of some of the things to look out for as they might be hitting stores very soon, if not already. So to begin here, I do wanna first make known the giveaway again that we're doing on teddybaldassarre.com. Up to $1,500, you can get a watch of your choice. Just follow the instructions, pick out 3 watches, fill out the form completed, and if you're all good there, we'll be announcing the winner here as well as on Instagram, so make sure to be following me there as well so you can stay up to date with the announcement. Going to keep it open for some more time, but wanted to make that known before we dive in. All right, so now to begin, we'll start with Rolex, as that is usually probably one of the hottest anticipated releases every single year. So to begin with them, the Explorer family did see a few specific changes, and one of them I think was a big surprise, with the Explorer now moving down to 36 millimeters again. So 39 millimeters is out, 36 millimeters is back, and based on what we were seeing from the rest of Rolex's catalog, this was certainly a surprise. So 124, 270, upgraded movement inside of here. We also got a two-tone option as well, which was being, I think, a point of discussion. But we also have Sea Dwellers that are two-tone, so really no surprise there. This is really very much part of Rolex nowadays when looking at the brand. Then moving to the Explorer 2, since we were looking at 50-year anniversary since the original release of the 1655, made sense we were going to see something here. In terms of what people were anticipating, there was a lot of ambitious, I think, thoughts and ideas. People were looking at ceramic bezels for the Explorer 2. I wasn't a huge fan of that just because I like the original Explorer 2 DNA, huge fan of this line in general. But what we got was pretty safe in terms of release, to say the least. Optically, from the outside looking in, not much has changed. They did say they made modifications to the case. I can't really speak to that because I'm just going off press photos until I really handle it. We'll then be able to maybe talk a little bit more if that's actually the case. We did actually see some upgrades with the movement though, so 3285, so latest upgrade with the Rolex in-house calibers there. But in terms of the actual appearance of this thing, not much else has changed since the 216570, which might be good, might be bad, depending on what you're looking for, but I think for 50-year anniversary, I think people were expecting a lot more. I don't know if we can assume that this is the end of Rolex for the year, so if this is it, I think that would be a little bit of a letdown, but otherwise, I mean, this is Rolex staying true to their original DNA, and you know, at the end of the day, the people that are watching this, myself, we're not the only people that, of course, Rolex are catering to. They are a brand that expands beyond, transcends watches, so they're gonna do whatever makes sense for them. The other things that were changing were we did see some new actual dials for the Daytonas, as well as some Datejust, which I think we're going to be for a specific crowd, but ultimately I think pretty cool looking in terms of their execution. Will be interesting to see those in person. And then one final subtle thing from Rolex was the addition of an Oyster bracelet on the GMT Master 2s, as well as on the Sky Dweller, we saw a Jubilee bracelet. So upgrades with the bracelets weren't really presented as updates, but were things that did change with Rolex this year. Now moving over to Tudor, the sister brand of Rolex. Saw some pretty intriguing releases from the brand this year, many unexpected releases as well, and what they were going for, I think, outside of the box, given what we're typically seeing from Rolex and Tudor. And Tudor, I think, with these releases, separated themselves a little bit more from Rolex in regards to what they're doing and maybe more daring attempts to separate themselves. First were the Tudor Black Bay Chronos. These, I think, were immediate hits from, I would say, the release calendar for Tudor this year. Available in a Panda and Reverse Panda chronograph, just kind of display. I've done a full review on these so far. They were able to slim the case down, so that was a huge upgrade from them. Also, we saw 2 new Black Bay 58s, which we've seen a lot of movement in this range, but in terms of what was changed, the case material, silver as well as gold, which are pretty interesting takes when looking at this collection, as well as open case backs on these to actually display the movements. So very different for Tudor. Also, we did see some upgrades to the 1926 as well as the non-diver Black Bays as well with this entire collection. So a little bit more eventful, unorthodox display from Tudor in terms of their releases, and definitely had quite a bit of people talking. So now for Breitling, and Breitling had some great releases within their Premier collection. They had their duograph, but my favorite of the entire collection was with the new Heritage B09, this pistachio dial manual wind B09. It looks fantastic. Love the register display, love the color of green. I'd love to see more pictures of these in person, but it looks very striking. Also, thickness on these is great, 13 millimeters. A lot of the Premier line is a little bit thicker, and that was one of the issues with it. Also getting a 40 millimeter case. So on the surface, these look fantastic. I think Breitling did a very good job, but this was certainly a standout for me. Another brand that was busy at Watches and Wonders, and I think did a very nice job, was Cartier. So you had the Mustang Cartiers, those all with a range of colors, taking influence from some 1980s designs. Really liked those and what they were delivering there. I see those being very well received. Also, we saw the Solar Beat from Cartier, which $2,000 just about for, they had a small as well as a large version of that. These certainly I think will be very, very attractive for people that want to get into the tank family at an affordable price, a reasonably affordable price. Solar, of course, brings a lot of peace of mind in regards to just kind of set it and forget it wear, and accuracy, of course, with quartz oscillation. The Roman numerals are actually the window into charging this movement. So that is really cool that they're able to incorporate the design in a tasteful way to make this execution of the solar powered watch really work. I guarantee there'll be like one comment on this video though saying how this is like a Seiko homage somehow. So, don't be a wise guy, all right? And then from the high-end perspective, you had the cloche from Cartier, kind of some interesting drive-esque style watches from the early 1920s that are incredibly unorthodox in terms of their dial positioning and everything of that sort. You saw skeleton dials, a few different case options to choose from as well. But in regards to just watches that grab attention, these are certainly them while doing it in the modern Cartier elegance that we commonly associate, of course, with the brand. Now, everybody was talking about green dials, and probably one of the leaders in the green dial change and shift in terms of the industry was with the 5711. So now shifting over to the green dial that was just unveiled. So we have a 2633 SC caliber inside here, retailing just south of $35,000. Of course, we know the games that's happening there. So Patek had a split release schedule where they had their sports watches and then they had their dress watches. One of note on the dress watches is being a little bit more on the attainable end for, Patek Philippe. I just want to stress that. But with the 6119 G and R, so these kind of fall in line with the 5119 that you would have seen with kind of that hobnail bezel and kind of fusing some of that design in here. I've always loved that look. I think it's very classic and I think really does work well with the rest of the design in a very cohesive manner. So those were other points of note here, but of course a lot from Patek Philippe. Those are just a couple of the standouts, of course. Now from IWC, we saw a new Big Pilot, but some people might fight back and say this isn't Big Pilot, but in terms of where this one sits, I think is going to be a nice nexus point in regards to fusing a lot of the Mark 18 style as well as the traditional Big Pilots in a more refined kind of package that would be maybe more appropriate for a lot of wrists out there that just want something that has this look. So 43 millimeters, also getting an automatic IWC 82-100 movement inside here, which with that open case back is actually pretty nice to look at, but no date as well, so getting a lot of dial symmetry. I see a lot of people maybe looking in this direction. Again, it's kind of that nice fusion between the Mark 18s and the Big Pilot family and doing it in a very nice way. So I know I can't get through this video without mentioning probably the most polarizing option in the last couple of weeks, and that is with AP's the Royal Oak Concept with that Black Panther edition. So 250 of these made. In terms of a retail price, we're looking well over $100,000. And there was a lot of people pushing back on these. In regards to my take on this, of course, it's not gonna be for me, but I am also not in the market for a watch of this price anyway, so clearly not even trying to cater to me anyway, so I don't know how much my opinion really matters, but a lot of people saying that this was maybe something that really went against the brand's image. I get the market play on AP side if we're just thinking in the economic standpoint of trying to get into a mass market perspective and just kind of getting some hype in the marketplace, why this makes sense, but a lot of people were saying this was kind of on the nose, and I tend to agree in regards to the actual execution of the design and paying tribute to Black Panther, but let me see comments down below about this one. This one definitely stirred the pot quite a bit and had a lot of people talking. So a couple Nomos watches that caught my eye that were released. Nomos, one of the leading probably independents taking part in Watches and Wonders this year. And in a more affordable perspective, $1,500, and for Nomos, that's a great entry door into the brand. Saw some new club campuses that were released, and thing that immediately stood out was the dial color. These kind of have these orange sherbet colored dials that I think look spectacular. And for $1,500, I've always tried to rationalize why somebody might go for a more colorful dial. And for $1,500, I think that's in a price range where it's a fun price range if you do have a amassed collection, where if you want something that's a little bit more out there, these I think are great in terms of what they're delivering. 100 meters of water resistance as we'd expect from the club family, as well as getting that alpha manual movement inside. I think these are really attractive looking, and for somebody that wants to have some fun and get into Nomos, I think this definitely does the job. In addition, we also saw some upgrades from the Tangente collection as well as the Metro collection with the Neomatic updates with the patented date display along the outside. So with the Tangente, we had a midnight blue variant. As well from the Metro, we saw this kind of silver, very true to the design. So working on a review of these two watches right now, so I don't know if they'll be released by the time of posting this video, but definitely stay tuned there and check those out. In addition, these will be available on teddybaldassarre.com as well as the orange dial club campuses that I just mentioned, so stay tuned on those when those become available, but a big fan of those club campuses especially. I think those will be very appealing for many people out there. Now, speaking of being appealing and using color, we also saw some Oris Diver 65s, with these being labeled as cotton candy editions. So a few different dial colors to choose from, and I kind of really like these, to be honest. I like the just use of the bronze cases with this. They're a little bit out there, but I think these look awesome. And 38 millimeters, these are totally unisex. I don't know how these are gonna necessarily look in person, so I will hold my thoughts on that completely until I do see them. But on the surface, these look great. I really like the sizing, everything about them. I think these are going to perhaps be a hit for Oris. Also from Oris, we did see the Aquis Pro date with the caliber 400 inside here being unveiled. So this is really their pro dive watch, really up to spec, north of $4,000 in terms of price, and also of course having a large case if you're familiar with the Aquis Pro line, but nice to see that their really pro diver is now getting their kind of movement and their manufacturer caliber inside as a nice upgrade. A couple other changes was from Maurice Lacroix, so we saw some upgrades to the Icon collection with the Icon chronographs, this one coming in titanium, and then from Tag Heuer, we also saw the Aqua Racer getting some new looks with some different variants as well for people looking to get into the dive watch realm of Tag Heuer. Now moving on to Vacheron Constantin. Being 2021, made sense to maybe look at a new 1921, and we got exactly that. So a few changes here. Saw a white gold at 36.5 millimeters, a white gold as well at 40 millimeters. Those are main production watches, and then a platinum version as well at a limited edition number of 100 pieces. They all come housing the 4400 AS caliber 65-hour power reserve. I reviewed the 1921, one of my favorite watches from this brand. In addition, though, we also saw some changes to the Overseas collection, a new skeleton version, as well as a perpetual blue dial. Both of those look spectacular. Of course, a little bit higher on the price range, but some other standouts from Vacheron. Now moving to Lange, we also saw an upgrade to the little Lange 1 moon phase. This one comes with the manual ALS L1212, so an upgraded caliber there, and we'll have a moon phase complication that will run for 122 years, so we'll keep that track. In addition, 72-hour power reserve. In regards to the differences here, have a diamond encrusted bezel for $56,000, and if you want to get one for a little bit more on a budget for $20,000 less, with no diamonds, you can do that as well. So it has this aventurine-esque style dial, and incredibly striking, especially when paired with that moon phase. Now, Zenith already had a lot of releases earlier this year in terms of the Chronomaster Sport as being probably one of the most hotly discussed watches of the year so far, but we also did see the Zenith DeFi Extreme be released, so that is utilizing the 9004, so the dual escapement watch, one running at 1,000th of a second in terms of what you can track, also running at 50 hertz as well. So crazy technology. These are going to be in a larger case format as well at 45 millimeters, but very much falling in line with what we've seen from Zenith in the last few years and kind of getting a new look. Following suit with some more avant-garde designs, we also saw Ulysse Nardin with their Diver X skeleton. This is a watch that utilizes very much the same type of case format and material with that carbon fiber-esque style case that we saw with the Freak X. That was actually a main fun talking point in the video that I did with Kevin O'Leary. If you've not seen that video, I will link to it down below, but very much in line with that here in a new dial configuration as well. However, the watch that probably stole the entire show in regards to, honestly, this is beyond watchmaking, this is true art when it's being created, and that was with JLC with the Reverso, now marking 90 years since the creation of the line with the caliber 185. Now this watch is absolutely ridiculous. I will link down below to the entire presentation because JLC actually posted it, and I think that will give further appreciation when it's actually happening here. But we're looking at 11 complications, 12 patents, we're talking flying tourbillon, minute repeaters. First watch with 4 sides, so that's including the inside chassis as well as the reverse chassis. On the front of the dial, that front face, have a day, date, month flying tourbillon with that hallmark Clou de Paris finish. On the second face, we're seeing a jump hour display, minute repeater. On the third face, we have, for the first time, 3 orbital cycles that are being tracked simultaneously on a watch. And then for the fourth face, displays the age of the moon as seen from the southern hemisphere. Limited to 10 pieces, but the other crazy thing about this watch is the fact that the chassis, of course, is disconnected from the central movement, but through a trigger that is sent at midnight every single night, that is allowing the information to be passed along so that it's going to display on both sides of the chassis the correct information. This thing is nuts. I will leave a link down below for a full presentation of this thing, but probably the star of the show, despite, of course, being out of the world of possibility for so many people, of course. But if you just love watchmaking, this is a watch to certainly look at. But for a more down-to-earth option for people out there that love the Reverso, we also saw the JLC Reverso Tribute Small Seconds with a green dial as well, as we've seen from many other brands this year. But this one looks striking, as I've seen from every other edition of this, with the blue to that more burgundy red color dial. They've all looked spectacular. This one looks great as well, and we'll probably review it in the near future because always a huge fan of this design and, of course, paying tribute back to the original 1931 model. Now for Omega, they didn't, of course, take part in Watches and Wonders, but did have some releases unveiled in the last few weeks, and they had some really great ones. So one of my personal favorites is the Seamaster 300 from Omega. I like it more than the Diver 300 in terms of my own personal taste. I think it pays a little bit more a natural tribute to the original 1957 release of the Seamaster, and I just love the looks of it. So new variations of those being available with some different dial colors, as well as it being thinner. So just 13.85 millimeters. I think the only gripe with the last watch was it was a little bit thick, had a bit of that slabbed offside, and just sat a little bit high on the wrist. Otherwise, a fantastic watch, getting a master chronometer here in regards to the movement, but these all look great. For me personally, love the blue dial variant in stainless steel. Those look great, and I think these will sell very well. And in terms of a price, looking around $6,500 for it on a bracelet, so really hard to beat for that money when you're looking at a dive watch from a luxury brand. Also, a couple additions to the Seamaster Diver 300 family, one with the black on black ceramic case, so containing a master chronometer 8806 in here and a $8,650 price tag. But for these, the compelling thing is just kind of that black on black, of course, kind of taking a lot from the Dark Side of the Moon black that we would see a couple of years ago as well, and kind of fusing that within the Diver 300 family. These, of course, are always going to be polarizing releases, but I personally think these look pretty cool despite the legibility and maybe the actual use case of it being a diver. Maybe not being in line, of course, but I think these look cool on the surface. Also, what we saw was, and this was actually right before I was posting this video, was a new Seamaster Diver 300 actually paying honor to the Tokyo Olympics. Blue ceramic bezel, blue hands, white wave dial, and then on the back does have an insignia to kind of honor the Olympics, which kind of is a bummer because it does get in the way of that coaxial movement on the back. But otherwise, the blue bezel, white wave dial, this thing looks spectacular. I wish that this was not a probably limited production run and instead just a mainstay in the collection because I love this breakdown of color. So just to wrap up some of my personal favorites, Tudor Black Bay Chronos, really love what Tudor was able to do with those and slimming down the cases, even making them thinner than the traditional Black Bay 41s. JLC, fantastic showing from them all around in terms of what they were able to deliver, and the Reverso Tribute green looks really, really good. Nomos with their club orange, love the color, use of color here, as well as with the Oris Diver 65 cotton candies, kind of the same appeal there with both of those, and just different takes from the brand DNAs in which they're going after. The Vacheron 1921, always a fan of that watch, so whenever you get to see something new from that, I'm always going to be a fan of it. And some of the strongest showings, I think, from brands in the last month or so. Breitling with their B09, that pistachio dial. I love the look of this thing. Thinner case, manual caliber, B09. Lot to like with that one. And then also Cartier with their tank solar. I think those are going to be appealing and a great way to get into the world of Cartier with their tanks at a pretty reasonable price at just north of $2,000 with multiple case sizes to choose from. And then also, like I just mentioned, the Omega Diver 300, that blue dial. That thing is a standout for me. And in terms of where it sits in the marketplace, really, really hard to beat, if maybe impossible to beat from a diver, from a value perspective, from a luxury brand. But all right, guys, I'd love to see comments down below. What did you like? What did you not like? Definitely leave some comments. I wanted to go through this kind of quickly, so I apologize if I was kind of rushing through this. I just didn't want this video to get so long because there was a lot of watches released. Also, if you did find this video helpful, thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Really would appreciate that as well. And definitely check out that giveaway. So you guys have an opportunity to win a free watch, open to international participation as well. And all that is made possible by TeddyBaldassarre.com. That's how we make all this content possible. Full authorized dealer of all the brands we carry, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, factory warranty on everything that we also offer. So if something goes wrong, you're completely covered. We also offer price match. So if you see one of our watches at another authorized dealer for cheaper, you fill out the form and we'll give you a call. And then finally, 9 out of every $10 goes right back in this content and allowing us to continue to foster a new generation of watch enthusiasts. And for that giveaway, be sure to follow me on Instagram as well as being subscribed here when we announce that. Don't know when I'm going to announce that officially, but we'll be coming soon. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I'll see you all very soon.